Welcome to ER20, the channel where we explore the deepest mysteries of existence. Today, we confront arguably the most profound enigma of all, consciousness. What is this inner world of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions? Is it merely a complex dance of neurons in our brain? Or is there something more? Something transcendent, perhaps even universal? For millennia, philosophers and scientists alike have grappled with this question, yet the answer remains tantalizingly out of reach.
The prevailing scientific view, often termed materialism or physicalism, posits that consciousness is an emergent property of the brain. Just as a complex computer program emerges from the intricate interactions of hardware and software, proponents of this view argue that our subjective experience, the feeling of being conscious, arises from the billions of neurons firing in concert, forming vast, intricate networks. When we perceive, think, or feel, specific brain regions become active. Damage to these areas can dramatically alter or even erase aspects of consciousness, providing compelling evidence for the brain's central role.
Neuroscientists actively search for the neural correlates of consciousness, NCCs, the minimal set of neuronal events and mechanisms sufficient for a specific conscious percept. For instance, studies using techniques like fMRI and EEG show distinct patterns of brain activity when someone is consciously aware of something versus when they're not. They track how sensory information, like seeing a red apple, is processed from raw data into a rich, subjective experience. This approach suggests that if we could fully map and understand every neural connection and electrical impulse, we might unlock the secret to consciousness. It implies that consciousness is entirely explainable within the framework of physical laws.
Despite the remarkable progress in neuroscience, a significant hurdle remains: the hard problem of consciousness, coined by philosopher David Chalmers. The easy problems are about explaining how the brain processes information, integrates data, and generates behavior. But the hard problem asks, why does all this physical activity give rise to subjective experience? Why does seeing red feel like something? Why do we have inner qualitative experiences, or qualia, such as the taste of chocolate, the sound of music, or the pain of a stubbed toe?
A materialist might describe the neural firing patterns when you see red, but they struggle to explain why those firings generate the feeling of redness, rather than just information processing. This gap between the physical and the phenomenal is what makes consciousness so perplexing. It challenges the idea that we can fully reduce all mental phenomena to purely physical processes. If consciousness is just neurons, then why isn't a complex robot or a sophisticated AI replicating those neural processes also conscious in the same way?
Given the hard problem, some theories propose that consciousness might be more than just a brain product. One such idea is panpsychism, which suggests that consciousness, or at least proto-consciousness, is a fundamental property of the universe, inherent in all matter, not just complex brains. From subatomic particles to galaxies, everything might possess a rudimentary form of awareness. Our complex consciousness would then be an amplification or integration of these countless microscopic bits of awareness.
While this sounds radical, it offers a potential solution to the hard problem by positing that consciousness doesn't suddenly emerge from non-conscious matter, but rather is always present. The challenge, however, is to explain how these micro-consciousnesses combine to form the unified, rich experience we know. Critics also point out that panpsychism doesn't truly explain consciousness. It merely pushes the mystery down to a more fundamental level, essentially saying it's just there.
Another fascinating, albeit controversial, avenue explores the connection between consciousness and quantum mechanics. Some physicists, like Roger Penrose, in collaboration with anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, propose the orchestrated objective reduction, OR theory. This theory suggests that consciousness arises from quantum processes occurring within microtubules, tiny protein structures inside neurons. They argue that these quantum computations collapse wave functions in a non-computable way, leading to non-algorithmic, subjective experience.
The appeal of OR is that it attempts to bridge the gap between the physical brain and subjective experience by invoking the mysterious properties of the quantum world, where observation itself can influence reality. However, the theory faces significant skepticism from mainstream neuroscience and physics. Critics argue that the brain is too warm, wet, and noisy an environment for delicate quantum coherence to be maintained long enough for conscious processes. The debate continues, pushing the boundaries of what we understand about both the brain and the universe.
Moving towards a more mathematically grounded approach, Integrated Information Theory, or IIT, developed by Giulio Tononi and Christoph Koch, proposes that consciousness is a measure of a system's ability to integrate information. According to IIT, any system that has a high degree of integrated information, meaning its parts are causally interdependent and contribute to a unified experience that is more than the sum of its parts, possesses consciousness. The higher the phi value, a mathematical measure of integrated information, the more conscious the system is.
This theory suggests that consciousness is not unique to biological brains. It could potentially exist in other complex systems, from sophisticated AI to even the internet, if they meet the criteria for high integrated information. IIT offers a quantifiable way to think about consciousness and has implications for understanding states like sleep, anesthesia, and even disorders of consciousness. It's a promising framework that attempts to define consciousness based on its intrinsic properties, rather than just its external behaviors.
Beyond scientific theories, the debate on consciousness is deeply rooted in philosophy. Dualism, famously championed by René Descartes, posits that the mind, or soul, consciousness, is fundamentally separate from the physical body and brain. It suggests that there are two distinct substances, the material and the non-material. Consciousness, in this view, could exist independently of the brain, perhaps even surviving bodily death. This perspective often aligns with religious or spiritual beliefs. The main challenge for dualism is explaining how the non-physical mind interacts with the physical brain. If they are fundamentally different substances, how do thoughts in the mind cause actions in the body? Or how do physical sensations in the body lead to mental experiences? This is known as the mind-body problem. While intuitively appealing to many, dualism struggles to find a mechanistic explanation within a scientific framework.
In contrast, monism argues that reality is ultimately made of only one kind of substance. Materialist monism holds that everything, including consciousness, is fundamentally physical. Idealist monism, on the other hand, suggests that consciousness itself is the fundamental reality, and the physical world is merely a manifestation of it. This idealist view, often found in Eastern philosophies, posits that consciousness is primary, not emergent from matter. Our individual consciousness might then be just a small facet of a universal consciousness.
The quest to understand consciousness continues on multiple fronts. Breakthroughs in neuroscience are constantly refining our understanding of brain function. Advances in artificial intelligence are forcing us to confront what it means for a machine to think or learn. and whether true AI will ever achieve sentience. Ethical considerations surrounding AI consciousness and brain-computer interfaces are becoming increasingly pressing.
Whether consciousness is an intricate product of our remarkable brains, a fundamental property of the universe, or something we haven't even conceived of yet, one thing is certain. It is the very essence of our experience. It defines what it means to be human, to perceive, to feel, to dream. And as we continue to probe its depths, we not only learn about ourselves, but perhaps about the very nature of reality itself.